To today's Money Watch. This morning, we're looking at the hot housing market and the soaring prices of homes. The median new home price in November was more than $400,000 and more than $350,000 for existing homes. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us right now. Good morning, Jill. How are you doing?
What do you call her, Nate?
I'm doing well. Please don't ask me to wait. Yeah, exactly. And don't wait. Let me weigh in about underwear on this segment, please.
We'll talk to you during the commercial break about that. And you're right, Gayle. I call her Dollar Jill, y'all, because she helps us save our dollars. Now, listen, we'll get to the housing market in a minute, but the government, they just released new data about rising prices. What can you tell us about that? And also, should we be worried?
Well, unfortunately, inflation is with us. We all know it. We see it every day. Food, energy, pretty much everything. In fact, the Consumer Price Index up 7% from a year ago. That is the hottest pace of inflation since June of 1982. So this is not great news for consumers. I think the better news is that the Federal Reserve completely is on top of this. 12 months ago, they were telling us this is temporary. We shouldn't worry. Now they're worried. They are likely to raise short-term interest rates as soon as their March meeting. So we'll likely see at least 4 quarter-point increases this year. But yesterday, Jerome Powell testified before Congress. And you know what he said? He's like, hey, if we have to go faster, we will. And I think this is really a warning sign to the Fed to get moving.
Jill, the housing market has been hot for over a year now. Big supply of homes, which there isn't, but there is a high demand for home buyers. Is that starting to change?
Well, look, I mean, the housing market has really shown huge gains in both activity and prices. We know that. But you're right. It is a supply issue. If you look at the number of existing homes, that's houses that have already been built, right, that are for sale, that inventory is down 13.3% from a year ago. That means that a typical house in November sold, are you ready for this, in 18 days. 83% of homes sold within a month. So this is a hot market still. It is starting to taper off a little bit. So we are expecting prices to ease off a little bit, and activity is going to continue to ease off this year.
Yeah, let's talk about the prices, Jill, because, you know, the statistics show that the average price of a new home is $400,000. That's also the price of the existing homes, which seems very high to me. Why do you think it is so high? Well, number one, is it high? Is it a high price?
Well, listen, it's hot. We're in a hot housing market that is starting to taper off, but it is still very difficult to find a house. Again, it's that supply issue, but it's also demand, obviously. If you look at the activity numbers and we look at the year 2020, we came into the year before COVID with not that many houses on the market and not that many houses being built. Then there's this huge surge of demand, not a lot of supply, and boom, you have high prices. Unfortunately, if you're looking for a house, I don't think that condition is going to actually change anytime soon, but we are seeing prices start to slow down just a little bit as more homes come on the market and also as mortgage rates start to creep up.
Jill, would you warn people against a possible bubble when it comes to the housing market? When I hear about average prices being at $400,000, that is a lot. That's a lot for the average earner for sure. Could it go down and go down fast?
Well, I think that when you hear these price increase numbers, it's very easy to take ourselves back to the mid-2000s and freak ourselves out. I don't think we need to be as concerned, simply because if you look at that period of time, there were people getting loans with no income, no documentation, huge amount of borrowed money to bet on the housing market. Today, we're actually seeing a large portion of all cash transactions. In fact, borrowers are finding that they really are in back of those all cash transactions. So I think that there's a frenzy that is based on supply and demand, but it's not piled on high with all that borrowing or leverage.
Jill, should those who are thinking about selling their home act right now?
This is so difficult because when I think of people who contact me on my podcast and they say, well, I really want to sell my house, and the but is there's no place to go. You've got to still find another house to buy if you want to. And a lot of people who have tons of money that's locked away in their homes, they're uncomfortable renting. Conversely, if you're someone in your starter home and you're thinking about moving up, maybe you can't find a house. And more importantly, you might have that ultra low mortgage rate that you don't want to give up.
Good point.
I like that point. Starter home.
Starter
What should you consider? How do you know what's affordable for your family? Just give us 2 quick tips.
Run the numbers. Don't forget maintenance. Don't forget closing costs, and never forego an engineer's report, please.
Oh, that's great advice.
Good advice.
Closing costs
on
will
that
get you.
starter home.
Yes, they will.
You get in trouble. It'll be a starter husband, too. All right, Jill, thank you very much.